Guys, let's get into it. Many people come to me to talk about feeling anxious. It seems pervasive today. It's everywhere, right? There are so many anxiety provoking situations. Both of those common things I'm asked or told really is that they feel like they have an on or off button and they don't know how to turn it off. So the anxiety will spike and then they won't be able to process all those feelings, those emotions, and they stay there trying to solve it. So what do your normal therapists do, right? They say, okay, do some somatic work, breath work, just 5 by 5, no, 5 by 5 breathing, box breathing. And we can also go so far as to be relatively traumatic and do some EMDR where you relive the event, the traumatizing event until it no longer triggers a response. The problem with that and the difference between what your traditional methods are and what I do is that you're never actually getting to the underlying cause, right? The root cause, if you will, of the anxiety. It's a program that's running in the background. Whenever I talk to potential clients, it's exactly what I say. There is a program in your mind that's running and it's decided that anxiety needs to be the right thing to be doing right now. What's really funny though is that many times it's actually not anxiety. You would be surprised to know that typically having an anxiety provoking person in your life, someone with disordered thinking, it can be a partner, it can be a boss, it can be someone that you volunteer with that just simply has unreasonable expectations and you don't know how to get through to them. And every time they open their mouth, it breaks you out. They could be anywhere. You're not choosing necessarily to have unstable people in your life. There are situations that we encounter every day that with people that we just can't really choose whether we're in the room with them or not. In the case of a partner, they may have some disordered thinking, right? That hasn't been addressed by a professional. And because of their disordered thinking, their view of the world and reality around them is triggering a very negative response in you. I see this a lot with when it comes to political differences, especially today. Things are super highly charged. So you could have a friend who's on one side of the spectrum and you're on the other. And because you cannot meet in the middle, then what happens? You feel frustrated and then you don't know how to talk to them. You don't know how to communicate with them. But what's really happening? Right? That's what we have to figure out. What about that situation is disturbing to you? What is it? Are you feeling unseen, unheard, etc.? Right? Once we figure out what has caused the anxiety program to run, we really just have a conversation with your unconscious mind to decide, okay, let's figure it out and let that part know this is not the appropriate response to have. It sounds so much easier said than done, but it really does just take a few sessions with me to make it happen because I know how to do this. I do it all the time. So people can come in with sleep disturbances, right? Or just general feelings of I don't feel like myself anymore. A lot of that I've found is hormone related or can be. Do you feel like you have overwhelmed easily? We used to call it back in the day, someone has a short fuse. If you feel like you're getting overwhelmed and you can't have a measured response to a particular situation, many times it can show up with the kids, right? I know when I've in the past gone through things that have been pretty stressful, I was less patient, was less tolerant, but it wasn't the children that were causing the problem, right? It was my dysregulated emotional system. And I see this with my clients too. It's not necessarily a specific situation that is causing all of this chaos in your mind. It's just the underlying belief or program that's running that says, yeah, I need to respond this way because it's super unsafe right now. So if we break it all down, right, to the fact that it's simply a disconnect between your external reality and your internal working, right, then we get to bring them together and actually form a solution, right? That's what I get to do. If you've been in traditional therapy, if you've taken medication that you haven't had resolution for the dysregulation, let me know because this is where my area of expertise. So many people come to me to get these things sorted because none of it makes any sense. The other piece, the question I get too, which is, Nick, it doesn't make any sense. I should be able to drive my car. I should be able to be alone in a room by myself. I we should be able to do all these things that it seems like everyone else does with ease. And that in and of itself is anxiety provoking because you're giving yourself a really good opportunity to be mean to yourself. And that does not regulate your nervous system, right? If you think about getting in trouble as a kid, right? then you know why, if you're trying to do the thing you're supposed to do to avoid getting in trouble. You're trying to do the thing you need to do in order to avoid feeling anxious, and you're still worried, right? You're still concerned and waiting for the other shoe to, right? So consider whether it is your nervous system is dysregulated out of proportion to the cause. There's probably an underlying reason for that. And look around in your life. So often we get accustomed to dealing with people who are dysregulated that we don't realize that their chaos is creating our internal turmoil. I've worked for people like this. I've been married to people like this, right? One person like this. It happens. And when you get to that point where you're feeling like you can't go on, you're like the frog in the water. You start the frog out in room temperature water, it's fine, and slowly turn up the heat until it can't take it anymore. And that's where you can get to, right? You've tried everything and nothing is working. You've read all the self help books, you've gone to all the seminars, you've taken all the classes, and you still feel crummy. That's because, again, typically there's someone in your life that is creating this chaos. I very gently with my clients through this process if I identify it, because it's not always pleasant to realize that your partner, your place of work, or et cetera, or their favorite volunteer cause is creating these problems for you. I get it. It's hard. But if you're courageous enough to take a look at it, I know that you'll either find that underlying thing that just doesn't make any sense and you're trying to make yourself feel bad about it, or there's somebody in your life who is creating some chaos. I hope that's helpful.